Okay, so welcome to Midnight Sapphic Club. I'm Em.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our Film Club Tuesday. Super excited because we watched The Last Black Man in San Francisco and we thought it was absolutely visually stunning, a beautiful movie, and we wrote up some questions and we want to get into it.
Yes, let's go into the first question.
So, first question, where did you see masculinity being redefined in this film and how did this make you feel? So for me, masculinity was redefined throughout the whole film. Obviously, toxic masculinity was a big theme for The Last Black Man in San Francisco. And I just thought it was so beautiful, the love between Jimmy Fails and Mont, his best friend, like the two main characters. I just thought the love between them was so beautiful. I wanted it to be gay, of course, but it was more important that it wasn't because that was missing the point. But I definitely wanted them to be together, but it was a beautiful, representation of like tenderness between men. I loved it.
Yeah, that was really great. I feel like I wanted the same thing. Like I was kind of looking for there to be a relationship there. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I see what's happening. Like that's the whole point, is that it doesn't have to be romantic, and that toxic masculinity like prevents men from experiencing these close, tender relationships that a lot of women tend to have with their friends.
Oh, of course.
Platonically. And
yes.
I think it's just showing what men are missing out on because what they have is so special.
Yeah, 100%. It's a beautiful relationship that you can't really tell like how intimate they are, but there's intimacy there. That scene when they both had flowers. I loved just seeing men holding flowers. Like that was another beautiful example, another way that they tried to like redefine masculinity, I think.
Another part of the movie that kind of shows that masculinity can be tender is Mont and his grandfather.
Yes.
He was just sweet to him. There was no like weirdness or like, they were both into theater and they were just sweet to each other.
The way they cuddled on the couch, like watching movies and shows, and I loved it. I thought that was so beautiful, and they kind of had to be like really close, with his blindness. I think that it allowed them to kind of like touch more, and I just thought that was beautiful too, because that's something we do not see with men. Like they don't cuddle each other on the couch while they watch their shows.
Yeah, and this movie was such a like slow burn that it kind of like went along with the tenderness.
Right.
Really nice.
But I loved all of the displays of toxic masculinity or the tenderness that can be between men. And another example of that, of course, was Kofi's character.
Yeah. He struggled with it.
Yeah, just the way that he acted obviously was a bit, his whole character was like, the point of that was to talk about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And then Kofi had a crazy backstory.
Oh, yeah.
That actor, his name was Jamal, and he was wrongfully accused of murder.
Yeah.
And spent 6 years in prison, and then won a lawsuit of $10 million.
Yeah.
So he was the perfect person to play this role. I'm sure he was able to speak from a place of experience of, toxic masculinity and just whatever would have happened, in prison. I'm sure that helped shape that character.
Yeah, I remember when we found that out, it was that they were having a hard time like casting this character, and I don't remember if he was trying to audition for this character or not, but either way, they talked to him about it and he was like, oh, the person you're looking for is me because I just went through this whole thing. And then they were like, sold.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah. It was perfect. His experience, like, totally, I'm sure, helped inform the character, and I thought he did it really well. And, like, of course, watching the movie, you're, like, rooting for him to, like, stop being that way because you can see that he's at war with himself, and it's sad that it doesn't end positively for him. Okay, question 2. Kofi lives in this tension between vulnerability and performance. What moments stood out to you about how masculinity is policed in his friend group? Obviously, the way Kofi acted after hanging out with Mont and Jimmy privately in their home, and then sending the worst insults the next day towards Jimmy, that was crazy.
That was upsetting because I thought that he was in the sauna with them, and he was like acting like he was understanding and like understood that like Jimmy was just passionate about something, and then the very next day he's like roasting him on the streets for the very thing they were just chatting about, hanging out with. He was complimenting him, but it was just like the hive mind behavior.
This is something that obviously hits home for us because I feel like it's a lesson we've learned over and over again, that the biggest thing isn't for people to realize something. It isn't that they need the truth revealed to them, and they finally see things and it all connects, and then they change their behavior. No, often they know. They know. This is like, Kofi knows what he's doing. He is like aware of the toxic masculinity. He's aware of like Jimmy and Mont being people, and he has this connection to them on some level, as we saw at the house in the sauna, opening up to them, and then to just turn on them the next day like nothing happened, and to just play his role. It's eerie, but people do that all the time. People do that every day.
I think my answer for this one was also the scene where, I can't remember his name, but the group leader of the group was like squaring up with him about something, and just getting in his face and like trying to provoke him and trying to get him to react, because he was trying to assert himself as the leader and trying to get Kofi to fall in line and play his role. And it's just such a common trope with this hive mind mentality to just get people to like play these roles that maybe they don't fit into.
Yeah, totally. Obviously we see men being forced into these masculine aggression roles often, and it's so weird because nobody wants them doing that. No level-headed person would want that.
Right.
But this is the role that men get thrust upon them, and it's literally so sad to watch them, because so much about what I love about life is like tender moments and like sensitivity and love and romance and sweetness, and like, yeah, whatever, I'm a simp, but like they're just missing out on such a big part of life, and it worries me for people.
Okay.
Question 3. Jimmy clinging to the house feels like clinging to identity. What part of your identity have you fought for when the world tried to push you out of it?
Well,
Obviously being gay. We can't not talk about that one.
Yeah.
Heteronormativity is a thing.
And it's hard, like, if you're the only person in your friend group who is gay, and like it can be hard to take up space in that way, because it's just, you already stand out so much. Like, I've experienced this before. Like, I already stand out so much within my friend group, so I don't want to be even more individualistic or like lean into like a more mask fashion or whatever, because like you already stick out like a sore thumb. It really prevents you from being yourself, because you feel like you have to be this like average of everyone else around you.
Yes, 100%. Like, being anything outside of the norm was just so like frowned upon. I mean, at least that's how it felt for me growing up, especially like being worried that I was gonna look like a lesbian.
Yeah.
Like, in my head.
Because that's like the ultimate insult.
Yes, like growing up, like I would want to wear different clothes, but then I would be like, I look like a lesbian. You look like a lesbian, and it would just like ring in my head.
And now you're like, I look like a lesbian.
I look like a lesbian. Okay, and then you're like, how can I look more lesbian? Like, what, in the carabiner, the oversized, the layered shirts, short nails, whatever. Another part of my personality I feel like I've had to fight for is the bitchy part.
Yeah.
The part of me that doesn't want to just accept things as they are, or the part of me that believes that things can be better, or just like vocalizing my opinion in a really blunt way. I don't know what like sort of neurodivergence this is. Obviously, one day hopefully I'll find out, but like something in me just, I feel like, likes to just be blunt and direct and not take things personally, and hopefully other people wouldn't as well. And that's definitely not well received.
Yeah, it's not.
The world would love to push you out of that.
And you've experienced as well people kind of putting you in this box of like positivity because you've tried to like be positive, but sometimes like you don't want to have that role of like just being the positive person. Like sometimes you want to like have a problem too.
Yeah, okay. The movie uses dreamy, slowed down visuals to freeze tenderness and chaos in time. Which shot stuck with you the most, and why do you think the director wanted you to sit in that moment? Okay, so obviously so many dreamy shots. This whole movie was so cinematic and beautiful. The color, I love the color scheme of like the autumnal, like rich, like
browns and reds were like a big theme. I love like Jimmy's outfit.
Yes, the fits were beautiful. The wide shots of them skateboarding through San Francisco, I loved that. I felt like potentially foreshadowing like where Jimmy is like on that skateboard and he's just like a tiny like little dot, and it's like this beautiful big scene, and he's just kind of it kind of like looked to me like he was like embarking on this big adventure on his own, like a small guy in a big world. And like I feel like maybe that was foreshadowing of him leaving at the end, you know, going off in his rowboat.
Yeah. For me too, the scenes of Jimmy with the house were very slow, and it made me feel like the director wanted you to sit with those scenes to see like Jimmy's pride in the house and like his emotions that were tied to the house.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like there was a lot of like, yeah, just the slow cinematic. Like Jimmy felt like kind of a melancholy person, very like slow to react, like typically slow to anger. And so it was interesting. I felt like the pace of the movie just kind of matched his inner world.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing all these cinematic, beautiful shots of San Francisco and the house. Like, obviously, Jimmy loves San Francisco. He loved that house. Like, it's like a love letter to what's being lost with gentrification. And it was just, I thought it was beautiful. I love that the movie is directed by Jimmy Fails. He plays himself.
Yeah,
and
which is so interesting. When we watched it, we didn't realize that.
No, yeah.
His name in real life is Jimmy Fails. He's playing himself.
Yeah, so it was loosely based off of his lived experience of being in San Francisco, and with his best friend, Joe Talbot, who is the director.
Yeah.
And this was his debut. Obviously, this was years ago now, but this is his debut as a director. I'm curious to look up other things that he may have done, if he's done anything since.
I would be curious too, because I love the style. I think in the beginning I was a little bit like, I'm not sure what's going on. I knew the movie was about gentrification, but in the beginning I was like having a hard time kind of trying to figure out where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of love that. I love like looking for like the direction. I love it being a slow burn, everything coming together, everything being intentional. Like,
yes,
beautiful.
Yes. I felt like we had beautiful character development. Obviously, we got to see Jimmy kind of face this truth and do this, and his friend Mont supporting him the whole way. Like,
yes.
I love their relationship. It was beautiful what it was, and I loved that Mont supported him in his own way.
Yeah, and something I haven't seen touched on in like other film reviews that we've looked at about this movie is that I feel like it's implied that Mont is neurodivergent.
Yeah, I feel like it is too.
But it's like not, they don't mention it, which I think is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But he has his quirks, he doesn't quite fit in. He studies the group, and like there's a scene where he like applauds them because he just thinks that they're like acting, and
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually thinks that, but either way, it just is like shining a light on the fact that they all are acting, they're masking, they're playing a role to fit into this group, they're not being themselves.
Yeah.
And I think he can see that because it's something that he does as well.
There's so many times in life where we feel like people are just playing caricatures of themselves, and we have this like out of body experience where we're like watching the play.
Yeah.
But we're the play. But it's weird because everyone else is like literally like playing these roles.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very like connected, Mont.
Yeah.
Last question. People are not just one thing. Which character forced you to expand your empathy? First off, I love that quote. I felt like the movie had so many good quotes.
Mm-hmm.
The other line that Jimmy says to the girls on the bus, I think, is, you can't hate it unless you love it.
Yeah.
So I totally related to that. Like, you don't live here, so you don't get to say if it's good or not, because you need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
That felt to me like Jimmy was saying, like, I've been here.
Yeah.
Like, that was just, like, his proof was, like, and he's the one getting pushed out. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I think for expanding my empathy, Kofi, because like I was mad at him for like not having a backbone really, but then especially that scene that you mentioned earlier with him hanging out with them, complimenting them, being like, yeah, this is really nice, and then he's making fun of them. But then when, spoiler alert, he passed away, it was like I had empathy for him because I was like, wow, like he was so enthralled with being a part of this group that it got him killed. Because there's also the scene where Jimmy says, that could have been me, right after he passed away. He said that could have been me. And it's kind of implied that the reason why Jimmy and Mont are different from these other people are because they actually have something they're passionate about, something that they believe in. For Mont, it's the theater and writing plays, and for Jimmy, it's the house. And they just have this realization that because they have something that they're passionate about, they didn't get caught up in this violence. And I think it just goes to show that that's really how people are. Like a lot of times people need something to believe in, something to be passionate about. Because these other people, they felt like they were pushed to the edge of society and they didn't have anything going for them. They didn't have anything to believe in, to look forward to, and it's just really sad.
Yeah, I love that take. That's super fair. And I felt like the guy that was part of the group after Kofi's funeral, where the one guy is like crying after like screaming at Jimmy, and then he just like bursts into tears, and it's like his toxic masculinity, it just like broke. The last question I wanted to ask, do you think it was a happy ending?
Yes and no, because on one hand, I didn't want him to leave Mont behind. On the other hand, it made it seem like, because it shows the video of Jimmy in the rowboat, like rowing away from San Francisco, and it's implied that he's probably getting out of there, and he can be more than just San Francisco. He can be anything he wants. What did Mont say? You exist outside of these walls.
Yeah,
something like that.
You exist beyond these four walls, or something like that.
These walls, yeah. And it's like he finally realized that. Like, I think it's bittersweet because I think it's showing that Jimmy's ready to grow and move on, but it's sad that it feels like he has to leave behind the things that he loves as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was sad that he had to leave behind Mont because I loved their friendship. I thought it was so beautiful, and I wanted it to last forever, but I guess nothing does last forever, and I was ultimately happy that he was moving beyond that place, because I think that there's immense value in getting the hell out of your town. Not talking about like travel. I'm talking about like go live somewhere else. Like, that's not accessible to everyone. I understand that. But the people that it is accessible to, I think a lot of people also act like it isn't accessible to them, and it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I can't move. And it's like, yes, you can. Oh, I can't leave this. I can't get away from this. And it's like, you need to get out of your direct bubble. So I was happy. I was happy that Jimmy was moving beyond, even though it was melancholy, it was sad that gentrification is what essentially drove him out of that city. That's messed up. But good for him for not just sitting there and taking it. Good for him for maybe going beyond and finding something better, or creating his own home. Obviously, we love a found family situation.
Yeah.
So like, I believe in people going out and finding what feels good for them, and his home didn't fit him anymore. I mean, it wasn't supporting him, who he was. Like, he felt so melancholy and so misunderstood, and I felt like he needed to get out of his environment. And if your environment doesn't feel right, maybe take that as a sign. Maybe like see what else is out there for you. Like, you can't just be walking around not fitting in, not feeling like you understand anything, or not feeling like anything is meant for you. Like, that's messed up. Go find what is meant for you.
Yeah, it did a beautiful job capturing the feeling of like wanting something to work so badly, but it just doesn't. And then showing that you have to move on. You have to find something that does match you, because if he just stayed in San Francisco angry and being pushed out more and more, then, you know, what would his life look like? But now he can hopefully take control of his life and make it something that he's proud of, rather than just being in the shadow of his grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's totally the point, is he was able to like accept it for what it was and process it. I felt like we all processed his emotion with him. That's why the movie was kind of slow, because things like this, they aren't linear. It takes time, you know. It's gradually, you eventually can work through these emotions. I think that's kind of what the movie did, is allow us to kind of work through the emotions with Jimmy and allow him to finally accept letting go.
What would you rate this movie?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 5 stars.
5 stars. Yeah.
Yeah, we kept
it.
in this not rate them all 5 stars, 10 out of 10, but it's hard.
I know.
We're picking bangers.
Yeah, we are picking bangers. We specifically wanted like cinematic, dreamy, beautiful vibes, because we've just been really getting into appreciating all the effort that goes into film, and this was just a beautiful movie. I felt like I felt like it said something. I felt like it was a personal story being told.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate people telling their story, especially in a really beautiful cinematic way. And I'm grateful we get to watch stuff like this. 10 out of 10. Go watch it if you haven't.
Thanks for tuning in for our film review for this week, and we will
See you next Tuesday.